The fire outside Joseph's small room burns low, and the village has grown quiet. Yet his thoughts still move like restless footsteps along the worn stone floor of his heart. The small lamp by the wall throws a ring of gentle light that cannot quite reach the corners. Outside, Nazareth settles. A gate closes with a soft wooden sigh. Someone calls a last word across a courtyard. A donkey shifts its weight in a nearby stall. Then the night deepens. So before you fully relax, take a moment to like and subscribe. Only if you truly enjoy this. Leave a comment with your location and time. I love seeing where everyone is listening from. Now, dim the lights. Maybe let a fan hum softly. And let's begin tonight's journey. Inside, Joseph's thoughts keep moving. All day he has worked with sure, steady hands, measuring boards, cutting beams, fitting pieces of wood so they hold firm. His tools answer him. The grain of the timber makes sense beneath his fingers. But his heart refuses every straight line tonight. The news about Mary sits inside him like a knot in wood that will not smooth out, no matter how gently he passes the blade. He thinks of her face, the way she listens before she speaks, the kindness that lives quietly in her eyes. He remembers seeing her carry water for a neighbor whose back ached, remembers her kneeling to comfort a child who had fallen, remembers extra bread slipped towards someone who arrived late and hungry. Nothing in her life looks careless or unfaithful, yet she is with child, and Joseph has no explanation that fits what he knows of her or of the world. He has turned over one plan again and again, to end the betrothal quietly, without harsh words, without accusation at the synagogue door, without Mary standing in shame while eyes judge her. It seemed almost noble when the sun was high and sawdust floated in the air of his workshop. But here, under the flickering lamp and the weight of his own breathing, it feels like breaking something fragile that belongs to God and not to him. At last, Joseph eases himself down onto the low sleeping mat and pulls a blanket over his shoulders. The woven fibers scratch lightly against his skin, familiar and grounding. The lamp flame trembles when a small draft slips under the door, then steadies into a quiet glow. Shadow softens along the ceiling. His questions do not vanish, but they drift toward the edges of his mind, less sharp than before. His breathing slows a little, and the sounds of the village fade into a distant hush. In that soft edge between waking and sleep, a presence draws near. Joseph dreams. The room in the dream looks like his own, yet the air is different. Clearer, as if dawn has slipped in without hurting the eyes. The cracked plaster and simple beams remain, but they seem held in a stillness that is not empty, a peace that feels deeper than silence. Before him stands a messenger of the Lord, steady and calm. There is no shout, no blazing flash to drive him back, only a quiet strength that fills the space with gentle light. Joseph, son of David, the messenger says, the voice low and sure. Do not be afraid to take Mary home as your wife, because what is conceived in her is from the Holy Spirit. The words do not rush past him. They move slowly, like water soaking into dry earth. Do not be afraid. He has heard that sentence in Psalms, in the stories of Abraham and Moses, in the promises read aloud at synagogue. But never this close, never pressed directly into his own troubled chest. The messenger explains that the child will save his people from their sins, that this birth is not an accident beside Joseph's life, but part of a long promise carried through generations. Joseph hears the name he is to give the child, Jesus, and feels the weight and warmth of it together. A phrase rises like soft light inside the dream. Emmanuel, God with us. Not God far away, not God watching from a high distance, but God stepping into small rooms, complicated stories, and nights like this one. The presence does not rush him. There is time for his shoulders to lower, for his hands to unclench, for the knot of fear behind his careful plans to loosen. It is as if God has stooped to sit beside him on the mat, speaking right into the place where his understanding has broken and his courage has thinned. Joseph is not given every detail of the road ahead, but he is given enough. Enough to trust, enough to stay, enough to step forward. When he wakes, the lamp is nearly out. A pale band of early light touches the edge of the shutter, and morning waits patiently just beyond the wall. For a long moment, he lies still, listening to his own breathing, feeling the rough weave of the mat beneath his hands. The dream has not scattered like a handful of dust. Its words remain clear and solid. Do not be afraid. What is conceived in her is from the Holy Spirit. You are to give him the name Jesus, Emmanuel, God with us. He sits up and opens the shutter a little. Cool air slips into the room, carrying the sounds of a village beginning its day. A rooster calling, water being poured into clay jars, a broom brushing dust from a doorstep. Everything looks the same, simple, ordinary, familiar. And yet something deep within him has shifted. Joseph knows what he will do. He will take Mary as his wife. He will walk beside her through whispers and sideways glances, trusting that the God who spoke in the night will walk with them in the sun. For the anxious heart listening tonight, this quiet moment in Nazareth carries a gentle comfort. You may know what it is to watch your plans change without your consent, to hold news you never asked for, to lie awake tracing worries that refuse to settle. You may be trying to protect people you love, trying to do what is right when every choice feels heavy and uncertain. In that space, the promise God spoke into Joseph's night leans toward you as well. Do not be afraid. Emmanuel means God with us, and that includes you here in your own room with your own thoughts that circle the same questions. You are not asked to solve everything before you rest, but to see the whole road ahead. You are invited instead to be held by the one who already does. As you picture Joseph's small room, the dim lamp, the resting tools in the corner, the slow rise and fall of his chest as he finally lets the dream sink in, let your own breathing find that calmer rhythm. Let your shoulders ease downward. Let the muscles around your eyes soften. Let the weight you have carried all day rest, just for now, in God's hands. The same God who met Joseph in his troubled night is near to you in this one. And as sleep comes closer, you can let the name Emmanuel rest quietly over your thoughts. God with us in confusion. God with us in change. God with us in rooms where tomorrow is still unclear. Under that promise, you are seen, you are known, and you are safely held, even as your eyes grow heavy and the night deepens around you. The road from Nazareth to Bethlehem begins in the cool hush of early light, when the sky is pale and the village has not yet fully risen. Joseph tightens the rope around a simple bundle of blankets and tools, setting it on the back of a patient animal. Nearby, Mary rests one hand on the donkey's neck, breathing slowly as she adjusts to the weight of the child within her. The journey ahead is long, and Joseph knows every hill will feel taller with Mary's condition. Yet there is a steadiness in his movements now. The dream has not answered every question, but it has given him something stronger than explanations. It has given him courage to believe that the God who spoke in the night will walk beside them on the road. They move through the edge of Nazareth, past low houses where smoke curls from early fires, past doorways where neighbors pause with water jars balanced on their hips. Some watch quietly as the couple passes, their eyes taking in Mary's rounded figure and Joseph's calm, deliberate steps. A few lift a hand in blessing, wishing them safety on the way. Soon the village falls behind, and fields open on either side. Olive trees stand in patient rows, their leaves dulled by the season, but still holding a quiet strength. The path bends and rises, stones shifting under Joseph's sandals. He watches for the smoothest ground, speaking softly to the animal when it hesitates, checking Mary's face for signs of strain. The road is not empty. A family from another village walks ahead with bundles tied in neat cloth. Farther on, two older men travel side by side, their conversation about the census rising and falling like a gentle stream. From time to time, paths draw close, and small exchanges pass between travelers. A shared direction, a suggestion of a spring, a simple word of peace. When they stop at midday, Joseph helps Mary down onto a flat rock in the shade. He unpacks a small meal, firm bread, dried figs, a piece of cheese wrapped in cloth. The food is plain, but in the stillness, it feels like kindness. Nearby, water trickles over stone in a thin, steady song, and birds call from the branches above. Mary closes her eyes for a moment and lets the sound settle. Beneath her hand, the child shifts, a gentle reminder that this journey is more than a response to a distant ruler's decree. It is part of a promise reaching from ancient words into their ordinary lives. She remembers her own encounter with the messenger, the assurance that this child is holy, the quiet invitation not to be afraid. For Joseph, the road itself becomes a prayer. Each step, each adjustment of the animal's load, each glance toward Mary is a way of saying yes again to the God who has asked more of him than he imagined. He is a carpenter, more comfortable with wood and measurements than mysteries. Yet, he chooses to trust what he cannot fully see. As the afternoon deepens, they pass a small cluster of houses built close together on a rise. Children play near a well, their laughter circling the stone rim. Women lift full jars onto their shoulders, water sloshing softly as they turn toward their doors. Travelers have already stopped there for the night, animals tethered in a sheltered corner. But Joseph and Mary move on, hoping to reach a safer place before dark. Clouds gather in slow layers as they walk, softening the sun and cooling the air. Mary draws her cloak closer, and Joseph drapes an extra cloth around her shoulders, his movements careful and unhurried. Hills rise and fall before them in long, quiet lines. The road may twist, but it continues to appear under their feet, one stretch at a time. They speak quietly as they go. Sometimes the words are practical. How far to the next town? When to pause again, whether the animal needs more rest. Sometimes the words are gentle memories of home, of familiar neighbors, and the smell of fresh-cut wood. And sometimes they simply walk in silence, letting shared presence say what voices are too tired to form. For you listening tonight, this journey can reflect your own. You may not be walking dusty paths between villages, yet you know what it is to move through days that feel longer than you expected, carrying weights you did not plan to bear. You may be facing changes that arrived without asking whether the timing was kind. In this story, God does not wait for a calmer season before drawing near. He is present in the slow march of obligations and in the tired steps of ordinary obedience. His help is not always a full map with every turn explained, but rather a faithful companionship that does not disappear when the way grows uneven. Joseph and Mary do not know every twist ahead, yet they are not walking alone. As evening approaches and the light softens, imagine the color of the sky above them, turning gentle and dim. Picture Joseph steady at Mary's side, the rhythm of hooves sounding like a slow, reliable heartbeat on the road. Hear the distant call of a shepherd gathering animals before nightfall, the last cries of birds finding their branches for the night. You are invited into that same softening. As you lie where you are, you can let your thoughts slow to the pace of a careful journey instead of a hurried race. You can allow tomorrow's distance to fade to the edges of your mind, noticing only this next small stretch, this breath, this moment, this quiet awareness that you are seen and cared for. With each easy breath, you can picture another unhurried step toward Bethlehem, not rushed, not strained, simply faithful. The coolness in the air becomes a reason to draw your covering a little closer. The fading light becomes a reminder that even long days eventually make room for night. Under that night, beneath a sky that has watched many journeys, you can find yourself gently held, your heart guided as surely as their feet on the road ahead. By the time Joseph and Mary reach Bethlehem, the town hums with restless movement. Extra travelers crowd the narrow streets, each person answering a ruler's decree that never bothered to see tired feet or full hands. Doorways are packed, guest spaces stretched thin, and the ordinary rhythm of the town has been pulled tight like a rope that groans under too much weight. Yet within that strain, a small place is found. It is not grand, a simple room attached to a house, where the air carries the scent of straw and worn wood, where a feeding trough stands in one corner, and a low shelf holds a clay lamp and folded cloths. Outside, voices rise and fall as people settle for the night. Inside, a gentler work is unfolding. Labor comes in waves for Mary, painful and demanding, yet threaded through with a strange, quiet assurance. Joseph stays near, hands ready, heart steadying itself with every breath. He remembers the dream, remembers who this child is, even when fear presses close, even when he cannot see more than the next moment. Then, at last, the child is born. The air seems to hold its own breath for a heartbeat, as if the whole room pauses to notice the weight of this small arrival. Mary cradles the baby, wrapping him in cloths she prepared long before the journey, in a home far from here. His first cries are thin and sharp, then soften as he feels the warmth of her chest and the secure circle of her arms. Joseph watches, eyes shining with something deeper than relief. In this borrowed space, far from Nazareth, far from familiar walls, a promise has taken on skin and breath. The stories he has heard in synagogue about God's faithfulness now rest before him, with tiny fingers and closed eyes. The name he was given in the night, Jesus, presses gently against his lips as he speaks it for the first time. Outside, Bethlehem does not fall silent. A cart rattles over stone. A child cries out, then is soothed. A dog barks and is hushed. People shift on their mats, murmur to one another, make room as best they can. But in this small room, a different kind of quiet begins to settle. Mary lays the child carefully in the manger, lining it with cloth so the rough wood will not press too harshly against his soft skin. The lamp beside them glows low and steady, wrapping its golden light around the edges of the scene. The baby's chest rises and falls in a rhythm that seems to slow the whole room. His tiny fingers curl and uncurl, catching nothing but the warm air and the gentle hush of his parents' breath. For a moment, Joseph and Mary simply watch him. All the miles they have walked, all the questions they have carried, all the glances from others who did not understand, they gather on the edge of this moment and then begin to loosen. The child does not solve every problem, does not erase the presence of Rome or the sharpness of future hardship. Yet his very existence is a deep, steady answer to the fear that God might be far away or inattentive. Here, God has stepped close enough to be held. Somewhere beyond these walls, shepherds hear good news in the sky, and songs are poured into the night like clear water over dry ground. That part of the story may or may not be known to Joseph and Mary as they sit beside the manger. What they know for certain is simpler and more immediate. The child is here. Emmanuel, God with us. A peace that does not depend on the senses or the comfort of the room lies within arm's reach, breathing softly. For you listening now, anxious thoughts may still roam the edges of your mind. You may feel crowded inside the way Bethlehem is crowded tonight. Too many concerns pushing at once, too many should-have-beens and what-ifs pressing for space. You may be holding responsibilities, griefs, or uncertainties that feel larger than the room they occupy. As Mary leans back against the wall, the rough surface firm behind her, she feels the ache in her body begin to ease. Joseph adjusts the blanket that covers her legs and makes sure the lamp has enough oil to last through the deeper hours of the night. The baby shifts in the manger and then settles, a small sigh escaping his lips. The sound is so soft that it might be missed in a busier room, but here it becomes a tiny anchor for their tired hearts. You might picture that manger now, the simple wood, the softened straw, the cloth carefully arranged, the lamplight tracing gentle lines around the sleeping child. Each rise and fall of his chest can become a slow invitation for your own breathing to follow. Inhale quietly, as if joining the steady pull of air into that room. Exhale gently, as if letting your worries flow out into the care of the one who has already chosen to draw near. There is room for your questions here. There is room for the tired places you do not show anyone else. There is room for the parts of your story that feel unfinished or inconvenient. The child in the manger does not demand that everything be neat before he arrives. He comes into the middle of a census, into a crowded town, into a space that was likely meant for animals. And he fills it with a peace that does not look fragile, even though he does. As the night deepens over Bethlehem, stars hold their places in the sky, and the streets slowly quiet. Inside the little room, Mary's eyes grow heavy, and Joseph's head dips as he keeps watch. The baby sleeps on, untouched by the anxieties that swirl in the world outside. His presence is enough to make this simple dwelling into a holy resting place. Under that same kind of watchful care, you can allow your own body to release its grip on the day. Thoughts may still wander, but they do not have to steer you now. You can let them drift like distant footsteps in a street you no longer need to walk tonight. The God who came to rest in a manger is willing to rest near you as well, guarding your sleep, holding your heart, and keeping gentle watch while you sink into quieter dreams. Far from the press of Bethlehem's streets, the hills spread out under a wide winter sky, their slopes softened by the silver of starlight. A small fire burns in a shallow hollow, its flames low but steady, sending thin streams of smoke into the cool air. Around it sit a handful of shepherds, cloaks drawn close, hands extended toward the warmth after a long day of guiding stubborn, wandering sheep. They are people used to the quiet edges of things, edges of towns, edges of fields, edges of conversations when others speak more easily in crowded marketplaces. Their work keeps them outside while most of the world sleeps indoors. They know the language of bleats and hoofbeats, of changing winds and shifting shadows, of how to tell when a lamb is limping or when a storm is coming. Tonight, the flock is calm. The animals drowse in small clusters, their shapes uneven against the slopes. From time to time, one stirs, gives a soft cry, then settles again, reassured by the familiar scents and sounds. The shepherds trade a few quiet words about grazing land and family news. One shepherd thinks of a child at home with a lingering cough that will not let go. Another wonders how long the Roman taxes can climb before his family must sell what precious little they still own. A third carries the ache of disappointment. Plans that never unfolded, doors that seemed to close the moment he reached for them. They stare into the coals, each man's thoughts dipping below the surface of his speech. Overhead, the sky feels vast and close at once. Stars scatter across the darkness in quiet patterns the shepherds have traced since childhood. There is comfort in their constancy, yet even this familiar roof cannot fully silence the questions in their chests. Does God see us out here? Does He notice the small people, the ones who sleep on hills instead of in palaces? And then, without warning, the night changes. It is not that the stars disappear. It is that a brighter light gathers among them. Not harsh, but so full that the slope and the flock and the very air seem to wake. The shepherds instinctively draw back, hands rising as if to shield their faces, bodies tensing the way they do when a predator appears. A figure stands before them. Not far, not distant, but near enough that they can see the calm in his posture. Fear moves fast, but the messenger's first words move faster. "Do not be afraid," he says, his voice carrying like a warm wind across cold ground. The shepherds do not understand everything that is happening, yet those 4 words reach the exact place where their worry has been living. The messenger continues, speaking of good news that will cause great joy for all the people. News that tonight, in the town nearby, a Savior has been born. The words, "for all the people," fall with special weight on ears that are used to being overlooked. This announcement is not reserved for priests in the temple or officials in fine garments. It has come first to men who smell of smoke and wool, who live under the open sky. The sign is simple and surprising. They will find a baby wrapped in cloths and lying in a manger. Not a throne, not a guarded chamber, but a feeding trough in a borrowed room. The shepherds glance at one another, trying to imagine such a scene. A child placed where animals usually eat. A holy arrival tucked into the rough edges of an ordinary life. Then the sky seems to open wider, and suddenly they are not looking at one messenger, but at a great company of heavenly beings, all praising God. The hillside fills with sound, rich and layered, yet somehow not loud in a painful way. It is more like waves washing steadily onto shore, strong enough to be felt, gentle enough not to overwhelm. "Glory to God in the highest heaven," they say, "and on earth peace to those on whom His favor rests." Peace. The word hangs in the air like a soft light. Not peace as in everything getting easier at once. Not peace as in Rome packing up and going home by morning. But peace that runs underneath all of it. A settled assurance that God has not forgotten His world, or these hills, or these men. Then, just as suddenly, the sky clears. The messenger and the shining host are gone. The fire crackles again. The sheep shift uneasily for a moment, then quiet. Wind carries the faintest echo of the song away across the slopes. The shepherds look at one another, faces lit by the small fire and the wonder that has not yet faded from their eyes. There is no lengthy debate. They rise and decide together to go to Bethlehem. They do not bring grand gifts. They bring themselves, their worn cloaks, their calloused hands, their hearts still ringing with the words, "Do not be afraid." For you listening tonight, this scene on the hillside offers a gentle reassurance. You may feel like those shepherds, living on the edges, carrying worries you do not always speak aloud, wondering if the important announcements of the world ever truly include you. In this story, God does not send his song first to the center of power. He sings it over a field, over people whose names history might easily have missed. He chooses their night, their worries, their very ordinary work as the place where his peace lands. As you picture the shepherds now walking downhill toward Bethlehem, the cool air brushing their faces, you can let your own breathing follow their slowed, steady steps. Each inhaled breath can carry the simple phrase, "For all the people." Each exhaled breath can release a little of your fear into the care of the one who knows exactly where you are. The stars still burn above them, unchanged. But the shepherds know that something truer than the stars has been spoken tonight. Under that same sky, in your own room, you are also included in the reach of that peace. You do not have to stand at the center to be seen. And as the story draws you nearer to Bethlehem, you are invited to rest like one of the flock on the grass, watched over, counted, safe. The song that once spread across those hills still moves quietly through nights like yours, promising that beneath the shifting troubles of the world, there is a steady, gentle favor resting over you. Far to the east, in a city where flat rooftops catch the last of the evening light, a small group of scholars stands beneath a darkening sky. Their lives are measured not in harvest seasons or market shifts, but in scrolls carefully unrolled, in stars patiently observed, in questions that linger for years before they glow with answers. Tonight, something in the sky is different. One of them, older and quiet, has watched this patch of heaven for as long as he can remember. He knows the patterns by heart, the familiar wanderings of the planets, the steady paths of the constellations. Yet now he sees a rising light that does not fit what he expects. It burns with a calm brilliance, not wild or sudden, but steady, like a lantern hung in a window that was dark the night before. They talk together in low voices, pointing, tracing with their fingers where the light has appeared. It is not just new. It seems to speak. Not with words, but with a pull that reaches past the edges of their study, past their comfortable routines, toward a land they have only read about. They remember ancient writings that spoke of a king to come, a ruler who would shepherd his people with justice and care. Could this sign be connected? Inside their home, a table is spread with scrolls. Inked lines tell stories they did not grow up with, but have come to cherish. Stories of a God who made the heavens, and yet leans close to the humble and the small. The scholars have spent years piecing together what they can from these writings, tracing whispers of a promise that seems too kind and too wide to belong to only one nation. As the new star rises higher, the thought that has been quiet in the back of their minds steps forward. Perhaps the time has come. Perhaps the distant promise has become something near. The decision to go is not rushed, yet it does not fade. They consider the distance, the cost, the risk of leaving familiar streets and known voices. They think of those who might laugh at the idea of crossing deserts because of a light in the sky and a line in a scroll. Even so, the pull remains. Some truths are worth walking far to see more clearly. Preparations begin. Bundles of provisions are gathered. Dried fruit, grain, water, and strong leather skins, extra cloaks for cold nights when the wind will slice across open ground. Animals are readied, saddles checked, cords tightened. Trusted servants are invited along, and they listen with wide eyes as the scholars explain why they must go. For the travelers, this is not an escape from their questions. It is a way of walking with them. They do not pretend to understand everything the sign means. They only know that if God has lit a lamp in the sky to mark the birth of a king, it matters that they answer it with movement, not only with thought. In the days that follow, they leave the city behind. Dust rises under hooves and sandals as they move through gates they have passed countless times before, now seeing them as a beginning rather than an end. Familiar landmarks fade into the distance, replaced by long stretches of earth and sky. Nights on the road are colder than they expected. The desert does not hold warmth after the sun's departure. They huddle near their fire, wrapping their cloaks around themselves, looking up again and again to make sure the strange new star is still there. It is. Always just ahead, never hurrying them, never vanishing when clouds pass briefly over. Around the flames, their conversation stretches like the path they walk. They recall what they have learned from the writings of Israel's prophets, of a ruler who would bring justice, of light for those who sit in darkness, of peace that runs deeper than the shaking of kingdoms. They speak of how odd and beautiful it is that their faraway lives have been drawn into this story, as if the God of another people has made room for them within his plan. For you listening tonight, these travelers can be gentle companions. You may not chart the stars or unroll ancient scrolls, yet you know what it is to sense a quiet pull towards something you cannot fully name. Perhaps you feel drawn toward hope when the easier choice would be to sink into resignation. Perhaps you search for meaning under the surface of your days, wondering if there is a light that can guide more than just your schedule. Their journey reminds you that God does not despise honest seeking. He is not offended by questions carried with humility, or by minds that long to understand how his promise might reach into real lives. The star in their sky is a kindness, a sign placed where they can see it, in a language they have spent their lives learning to read. In your own way, signs may also be present. A verse that returns to your mind when you did not plan to think of it. A conversation that arrives at the moment you needed reassurance. A sense of quiet comfort that settles over you when nothing outside has changed. These are not as dramatic as a new star, yet they can still be lamps for your feet in a dark corridor. As the caravan moves steadily west, hooves crunching lightly over hardened ground, imagine the rhythm of their travel matching the slowing of your heartbeat. The star ahead glows like a gentle promise, not pushing them faster than they can go, simply waiting. Their questions have not all been answered, but they are not walking blind. You too do not need every answer tonight. It is enough for now to follow the light you have, the reminder that God is kind, that he comes near, that he has woven himself into human history in the form of a child who once lay in a manger. So as you rest, you can picture yourself among these travelers, wrapped in a warm cloak under a sky wide with stars. The worries of your day can sink into the sand behind you, step by step, as your attention narrows to the steady glow ahead. You are not asked to run, only to breathe, and remember that even in the dark, you are gently guided by a God who knows every mile of the journey and watches over each quiet, searching heart. In Jerusalem, the air holds a different kind of weight than in Bethlehem's crowded lanes or Nazareth's quiet streets. Stone walls rise high, catching the daylight and throwing it back in pale echoes. Courtyards open onto shaded colonnades where sandals whisper over smooth floors and officials speak in low, careful tones. It is a city where decisions travel farther than the sound of a voice, where one person's unease can ripple through many lives. In one of the palace corridors, servants move with practiced speed, carrying trays and messages. They have learned to read moods as clearly as they read written orders. Today, there is a tension in the halls, a sense that something unexpected has drawn the king's attention. Guards stand a little straighter at their posts. Conversations pause when footsteps approach. The usual patterns have been disturbed by a question that arrived from far away. Not long ago, travelers from the east entered the city, their clothes and accents marking them as outsiders. They were not soldiers or merchants, not envoys negotiating trade. They were seekers, asking a narrow, unsettling question. Where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him. The words reached King Herod quickly. For a ruler who had spent years holding tightly to his position, the idea of another king of the Jews landing in his territory felt less like hope and more like a threat. Matthew tells us that when Herod heard this, he was disturbed, and all Jerusalem with him. Herod calls together the chief priests and teachers of the law, men who know the scriptures well. They stand before him in a quiet semicircle, hands folded into their sleeves, eyes attentive. Herod asks where the Messiah is to be born. The answer does not take long. They know the prophecy. In Bethlehem in Judea, they say, recalling the words of the prophet who spoke of a ruler coming from that small town, one who would shepherd God's people. Outside the palace, life goes on in its usual patterns. Market stalls open, the smell of baking bread drifts from ovens, water splashes into basins, children call to one another in the streets. Most people do not know about the travelers or the king's sudden interest in ancient words. They only feel a faint shift in the atmosphere, a tightening that makes them wonder what new decree might be coming. Inside, Herod sends for the travelers secretly. The meeting is held away from the open court, behind guarded doors. The scholars from the east enter with respectful caution. They have followed the star to this city, expecting perhaps joy at the news of the promised king. Instead, they find careful questions and eyes that measure more than they reveal. Herod asks them the exact time the star appeared. He weighs their answers like a man counting coins, thinking not of worship, but of control. Then he sends them on to Bethlehem with instructions that sound pious on the surface. Go and search carefully for the child. As soon as you find him, report to me, so that I too may go and worship him. The travelers cannot see what Matthew later makes clear, that Herod's words hide darker intentions. They only know that the star has led them this far, and that Scripture now points them to a town just beyond the hills. So they prepare to leave the city, carrying both the hope that drew them from their homeland and the unease that lingers in the corridors they are departing. For you listening tonight, Jerusalem's uneasy palace may echo the places in your own life where power feels fragile and the future feels subject to decisions you cannot influence. You may live under headlines that shift without warning, under leaders whose moods can change the atmosphere of workplaces, cities, or homes. You may feel at times as if your peace is at the mercy of those who sit in high rooms and whisper over papers. Yet beneath Herod's disturbance, the story holds another line that does not tremble. God's plan is not undone by the anxiety of a king. Long before this night, he spoke through prophets about Bethlehem. Long before Herod heard the traveler's question, God knew exactly where his son would rest and how every promise would unfold. Human authority can shake and grasp at what does not belong to it, but it cannot move the foundation God has laid. Picture for a moment the contrast. In the palace, lamplight glints off polished stone, reflecting faces furrowed with worry and suspicion. In Bethlehem, lamplight softens rough walls around a sleeping child whose very presence is peace. Herod's heart tightens at the idea of another king. Mary's heart quietly treasures each moment she spends near the one who is already king in a different way. One clings to power, the other holds a child. As you rest tonight, you are invited to step back from the noise of public fear and private schemes, and to stand instead in the quieter space of God's steady purpose. The movements of rulers will continue to rise and fall. New decrees will appear, then change. Headlines will swell with urgency, then fade. But the one who slipped into the world as a child in Bethlehem has not surrendered his place or his promise. Take a slow breath in, as if drawing in the stillness of a courtyard before dawn. Let it out gently, as if releasing tension gathered from stories you cannot control. You are not required to fix what lies far beyond your reach. You are invited to rest in the reality that God's care for you is not dependent on the calmness of earthly powers. In the palace, Herod's plans are quietly forming. On the road, the travelers are preparing to continue their search. In Bethlehem, a baby sleeps, held firmly within God's will. Somewhere within that triangle of places, your own anxious thoughts can find a resting point. Not in the fragile security of human control, but in the constant presence of the one who holds every story, including yours, in gentle hands. Let that awareness settle over you like a warm cloak. Let the stone corridors of fear grow distant, like a city you are walking out of at dusk. Ahead lies a softer light, a smaller room, a deeper peace. You can close your eyes knowing that even when powerful people are restless, your life is anchored to a king whose peace cannot be shaken. The road from Jerusalem to Bethlehem curves over low hills, and as the travelers from the east move along it, the question that drew them from their homeland keeps burning quietly in their hearts. The city's close corridors fade behind them, replaced by open air and the softer sounds of villages preparing for evening. Above them, the sky deepens into that blue that comes just before night fully arrives. For a moment, they feel the ache of doubt. Have we misunderstood the sign? Did we follow a light only to reach closed doors and troubled faces? They do not say this aloud, but it shows in the way their eyes search the horizon. Then someone looks up and slows. There, ahead of them, the star they have followed appears again, clear against the gathering dusk. It shines with the same calm steadiness they first noticed at home, neither flickering nor flaring wildly, but holding its place as if it has been waiting for them to step back into its line of guidance. Relief moves quietly between them, like a shared exhale. They have not lost their way. As they continue, the star seems to move with them, drawing them toward Bethlehem. The town comes into view, houses clustered along the slope, lamplight beginning to glow behind windows and doors. The road narrows. They slow their animals' pace, careful not to crowd those still moving through the streets. The star settles, not high over the whole town, but over one small home among many. It is not grand. No high gate, no guarded entrance, no sign that this house is more important than its neighbors. Its door is simple wood. Its walls are rough stone. Yet the light above it leans down with quiet purpose, pointing not only to a place, but to a person. The travelers dismount. Dust slips from their cloaks as their feet touch the ground. Servants fall back, allowing their masters to step forward. Hearts beating slowly but firmly, they approach the doorway. One of them lifts his hand and knocks. Inside there is movement, a shifting of feet, a soft exchange of words. The door opens. Behind it stands Joseph, his expression a blend of curiosity and welcome. The journey from Nazareth, the birth in Bethlehem, the unexpected visits of shepherds, these have prepared him, in some hidden way, for more surprises. He sees the strangers' clothing, their travel-worn faces, the respect in their posture. They explain why they have come, speaking of a star and a promise, of a child born King of the Jews, whom they have crossed many miles to honor. Joseph listens, the words fitting into what he already knows, like another piece in a pattern that is slowly becoming clear. He invites them in. The room they enter is small but carefully tended. The smell of baked bread lingers in the air, mingled with oil and wool. A low table stands against one wall, near a clay lamp whose flame throws soft light across the floor. In another part of the room, Mary sits beside the child. He is older now than on that first night in the manger, but still very small, still dependent on gentle hands to lift and carry him. His eyes are bright and watchful as the strangers step inside. The moment stretches. These learned men from distant lands, used to being consulted for their wisdom, find themselves standing in a modest home before a young mother and her child. No guards announce them. No trumpets sound. Yet something in the air feels more solid than any palace hall. Then, quietly, they bow. They kneel on the hard floor, their robes settling around them in folds that catch the lamplight. Their foreheads move close to the dust trodden by villagers. In this posture, they are not observers or collectors of rare knowledge. They are worshipers. They have found not a theory, but a person. Not a distant idea of a king, but a child whose presence draws reverence from hearts that have spent a lifetime studying the heavens. Gifts are brought forward, unwrapped with care. Gold, gleaming even in the gentle light, is offered as a sign of honor for a king whose rule will not look like those they know. Frankincense, with its rising fragrance, speaks without words of a holiness that fills even this small space. Myrrh, often linked with sorrow and burial, hints at a path ahead that will cost deeply. Yet it is laid down now before a child whose hands are still tiny and whose future heart will choose that path out of love. Mary watches, treasuring yet another layer of mystery in her heart. She has rocked this child to sleep, soothed his cries, washed his small hands. Now she sees strangers from far nations lowering themselves before him, drawn by a star and by God's quiet leading. Joseph stands nearby, protective yet peaceful, letting the moment unfold at the pace God has set. For you listening tonight, this scene in the Bethlehem home holds an invitation. You may sometimes feel far from sacred places or unsure what you could ever bring to one so worthy. Yet notice what is welcomed here. The home is simple. The air smells of ordinary life. Into this space, God has drawn hearts from distant lands and made room for their worship. The child does not turn away their gifts or their bowed heads. He simply is, Emmanuel, God with us, receiving what they bring with a quiet, kingly grace that needs no display. Your gift tonight may not be gold or incense. It may be your attention given for these few moments instead of to your worries. It may be your trust, small but sincere, offered into hands you cannot see but can begin to know. It may be your tired heart itself, laid down like something precious at the feet of a Savior who understands weariness. As you picture the travelers kneeling, imagine yourself beside them, the coolness of the floor under your knees, the warmth of lamplight on your face. You can let your breathing grow slow and even, matching the calm rise and fall of the child's chest as he rests in his mother's arms. The star still shines outside, but inside a quieter light has taken over, the light of reverence, of hearts that have found what they were seeking. Under that light, you are invited to rest, knowing that the one before whom wise men bowed is the same one who welcomes you, with all your questions and all your weariness, into his gentle, unhurried peace. Night has settled over Bethlehem like a deep, familiar blanket. The rush of census days is easing. Many travelers have gone, and those who remain are folding linens, tying bundles, and speaking in muted tones. A few lamps still glow in high windows, but most streets lie in a soft, shadowed quiet. In the house where the child rests, Mary sleeps at last. Her breathing is slow and steady, her body heavy with the honest fatigue of recent weeks. The child lies near her, turned slightly toward her warmth, one small hand open against the blanket. Joseph sits close for a while, watching the gentle rise and fall of both their chests. He remembers the star above this roof, the strangers from far away, the gifts laid at the child's feet. Those bright moments now sit side by side with quieter tasks. Fetching water, fixing a loose hinge, sweeping dust from corners. Wonder and ordinary labor have braided together until they feel like one life instead of two separate worlds. When his own eyes grow heavy, Joseph stretches out on his mat not far from them. Outside, a door closes somewhere down the lane. The sounds blur into a low hum, and sleep comes like a slow tide. Once again, God speaks into Joseph's night. In the dream, the room looks much the same, but the air feels charged with calm urgency. A messenger of the Lord stands before him, steady, unwavering, carrying no weapon, only a word. "Get up," he says. "Take the child and his mother and escape to Egypt. Stay there until I tell you, for Herod is going to search for the child." The words are serious, but they are not harsh. They arrive like firm hands on Joseph's shoulders, guiding rather than pushing. There is no long explanation of Herod's plans, only enough light for the next steps. Get up, take the child, go. Joseph wakes with his heart beating faster, yet not in panic. The lamp is low, the room familiar. But the dream's clarity has not faded at the edges. He has learned to recognize God's voice when it comes. Sure, peaceful, different from his own circling worries. He leans toward Mary and touches her shoulder gently. She wakes to the sound of his whisper, sees the seriousness in his eyes, and listens as he quickly tells her the dream. They must leave. They cannot wait for morning. The same God who brought them to Bethlehem is now leading them away. Mary does not argue. She has already walked a long road of trust, from the first greeting of the angel in Nazareth, through months of whispered questions and long travel with a child growing inside her. She gathers what they can carry: cloths for the baby, a bit of food, the precious gifts whose worth may now feed and shelter them far from home. The house around them is quiet. Those who sleep in the adjoining spaces do not stir. Outside, the village lanes lie under starlight. A few coals still glow in open courtyards, their faint warmth curling upward into the cool air. Joseph wraps the child in an extra covering and lifts him close, feeling the soft, solid weight against his chest. Mary walks beside them, cloak pulled tight, her steps careful but sure. No one stops them. A dog lifts its head, then lowers it again. A shutter shifts in a breeze and falls still. Bethlehem sleeps, unaware that one small family is leaving under the shelter of God's warning. To anyone watching from a doorway, it might look like simple necessity. A poor couple moving on to seek better safety elsewhere. Yet, as Matthew tells in 2:13-14, this midnight journey is a direct response to the Lord's command, timed with perfect care. They pass beyond the closely packed houses, past fields that once held the shepherds' flocks on that singing night. Mary remembers the words she heard about peace on earth, and she holds them now like a lantern inside her. Peace does not mean the absence of danger, she realizes. It means the presence of God in the middle of it, guiding them one turn at a time. For you listening tonight, this quiet obedience in the dark may touch something familiar. You may know what it feels like to sense a gentle nudge to move away from what is not safe, to step out of a pattern that wears your soul thin, to change direction even when you cannot fully explain why. That leading may come through scripture that will not leave your mind, through the steady counsel of someone who loves you, or through doors that close in ways you did not choose. God's warnings are often like this dream, clear, firm, wrapped in calm. They are not given to fill you with dread, but to guard you, to lead you toward places where you can breathe more freely. The one who watched over Joseph's family watches over you as well, seeing what you cannot and keeping careful watch while you rest. As you picture Joseph and Mary moving through the night, notice the steadiness of their pace. They are not running wild with fear. They are walking under guidance. Each step is simple and human. Dust under sandals, stones underfoot, yet held inside a larger care. The child in Joseph's arms is unaware of plots and kings. He rests into the heartbeat that carries him. You too are carried in ways you cannot always name. There are nights when you sleep through changes around you, and yet God remains awake, guarding, guiding, holding your life in hands that do not tremble. You may have choices to make tomorrow, questions to sort through. But for now, you are invited to rest in the truth that you are not alone in the dark. Let your breathing match their gentle rhythm along the path out of Bethlehem. Inhale with their forward step. Exhale as the village grows small behind them. The road toward Egypt will unfold over many long days, but tonight they have enough light for the next few hours, and that is sufficient. Under that same watchful care, you do not need to predict every danger or hold your heart in constant alert. The one who sent a dream into Joseph's sleep still knows how to reach you in ways suited to your life. As you drift nearer to your own rest, you can quietly entrust your fears to Him, trusting that you are seen, protected, and gently led, even along paths you do not fully understand. The road toward Egypt stretches beyond what Joseph and Mary can see, a long ribbon of earth pulling them further from everything familiar. Morning comes slowly after their night departure from Bethlehem. The first thin light touches the edges of the hills, revealing shapes that were only shadow before. Low shrubs, scattered rocks, and narrow cuts in the land where water once ran. They move carefully, conserving strength. The child, wrapped securely, rests against Mary's chest for a time, then is carried by Joseph when the path grows steeper. Each step leaves a small mark in the dust that the wind soon begins to soften. Behind them, The trail of their old life fades, but the one who called them forward does not. As the day grows warmer, they pause near a shallow stream that threads its way between stones. Joseph kneels to splash water on his face, feeling grit loosen from his skin. He fills a container and offers it to Mary, then moistens a cloth to touch gently to the child's forehead. Tiny fingers stretch toward the coolness, then curl again in half sleep. Around them, the land is wide and mostly empty. Now and then, a traveler passes in the distance, a figure blurred by heat and dust, moving along the same ancient routes that cross this dry country. Voices carry for a little while, then fade into the low hum of insects and the soft shifting of sand. Mary watches the horizon as they walk. She thinks of Nazareth's narrow lanes, of the well where she once lifted water with other women, sharing laughter and small stories about each day. She thinks of Bethlehem's crowded nights and the baby's birth in that borrowed room. Each place now feels both near and distant, like a dream remembered on a journey that will not pause for her to linger. Yet even as she feels the ache of leaving, she senses another presence that does not leave when towns fall behind. The child against her shoulder is warmth and weight, but he's also more than a baby needing care. In some mysterious way, she does not fully grasp. He is the promise of God walking with them, over stony ground, through thin air, into lands they have never seen. At night, they seek whatever shelter they can find. Sometimes it is a small stand of trees where branches knit together enough to break the wind. Sometimes it is the hollow of a rock that shields them from the open sky. Joseph builds small fires from what fuel he can gather. He cooks simple meals when there is grain to grind or lentils to soften. Mary rocks the child, humming quiet tunes from home, threading familiar words into unfamiliar air. Sleep comes in fragments, but it comes, enough to give them strength for the next day's road. For Joseph, each decision is an act of trust. Which route will keep them safest? When should they rest? And when should they push a little farther? He does not have a map drawn on parchment. He has memory of old stories, a people once led out of Egypt by the Lord, and the fresh memory of a dream that sent him toward that very land for refuge. The patterns of God's care run deeper than borders. The same desert that once witnessed deliverance now becomes a place of protection. As they pass through stretches where the land grows harsher, the sun overhead feels like a heavy hand. Heat shimmers above the ground, blurring the distance into a wavering line. Joseph manages their water with care, counting each drop in his mind, planning the distance to the next likely well. Mary shields the child with her cloak, creating a small pocket of shade where his soft breathing continues unbothered by the harshness around them. For you listening tonight, their journey through this in-between land may bring to mind your own seasons of transition. You may find yourself between what used to be and what has not yet formed. Walking days that feel stripped of the comforts you once knew. Old routines are behind you. New routines have not settled in. You may not have chosen the change, yet you are in it all the same, wondering if God is still near on roads that do not feel like home. In this story, God does not only meet his people in familiar places, he accompanies them in the stretch between, where the landscape looks strange and the future is not clear. Joseph and Mary are not wandering at random. Their steps fall within a path God has seen from beginning to end. Even when they cannot feel it with every moment's breath, they are held inside a care that will not loosen its grip. As dusk begins to gather one evening, the sky above them softens from bright blue to layers of gentle color. Rose, amber, the first hint of deepening indigo. The harsh angles of the rocks ease into shadows. The air cools enough that Mary can lower her cloak a little. letting the child feel the change. He blinks up at the sky, as if noticing the widening darkness with calm curiosity, then tucks his face once more against her. They find a slight rise where they can see the land around them. Joseph sets a small fire and watches the sparks lift briefly before vanishing into the growing night. The smell of smoke curls through the air, a reminder that, for all its uncertainty, this place has become a kind of shelter for the evening. Mary and Joseph speak softly, trading simple words about the day just lived and the next stretch ahead. There is no grand strategy, no guarantee of when they will arrive or how long they will stay once they do. What they have instead is enough for now. Food for a meal, warmth from the fire, the closeness of each other, and the child whose very presence promises that God has not stepped away from their story. As you sit with them in your imagination, you can allow your own breathing to follow the calming rhythm of this camp at day's end. The rush of your day can fade to the outer edges of your thoughts. You are not required to solve every uncertainty at once. You can rest, as they do, in the simple truth that God is with you in this in-between place, watching over your steps, guarding your rest, and gently preparing the next stretch of road long before you walk it. In the small Egyptian town where they finally stop, the air feels different from anything Joseph and Mary have known. The sun falls at a slightly new angle on the walls, casting long, slanting shadows across the ground. At first, everything feels loud. Even simple sounds, a seller calling out his wares, children playing a game in a language threaded with new syllables, a cart rattling over stone, seem to press in on them all at once. Yet little by little, the strangeness separates into pieces they can name and live among. The town is not hostile, it is simply itself, busy and alive in ways they are just beginning to understand. They find a modest place to stay on a narrow lane, not far from a well. The home is small but solid, with thick walls that hold back the heat of midday and keep a bit of warmth at night. A neighbor helps them understand the water seller's call, the marketplace hours, the patterns of when streets are busiest and when they grow still. Mary watches closely, learning how women here tie their head coverings, how they balance jars with practiced ease, how they greet one another with quiet phrases she begins to repeat. Joseph offers his skills wherever wood needs shaping. At first, he is the stranger with an accent and unfamiliar tools. Some look at him with curiosity, others with careful distance. But wood responds to patient hands in any country. A broken stool in one house, a cracked door frame in another, a cart in need of repair. Slowly, work finds him. With each task completed, a small bit of trust settles into place. Inside their home, the child grows. His presence has the same steady calm it carried on the road. He reaches for shadows on the wall as light changes. Mary laughs softly when he discovers the echo of his own voice in the bare room, cooing again just to hear it bounce back. The strangeness of this land does not trouble him. He rests wherever he is held, as at home in these walls as in Bethlehem's. Food carries the shapes and flavors of this new country. Flatbread crisp from the oven, vegetables seasoned differently than Mary remembers, dates sticky with sweetness. At first, she misses the tastes she grew up with. Then, as days turn into weeks, some of these new flavors begin to feel like comfort too. She learns to adjust recipes, to combine familiar methods with unfamiliar ingredients, weaving the old and the new into meals that feed their little family. On some mornings, Mary and the child step out to the well. The women there talk quickly, their words weaving patterns Mary is still learning to follow. They help her a little, pointing, demonstrating, smiling as she stumbles gently over unfamiliar sounds. Children tug at one another's sleeves and peek around their mother's legs to look at the foreign boy. Mary holds him securely, but she allows their curious eyes to meet his. He gazes back with quiet interest, and the smallest of bridges is formed. Joseph walks longer distances now, seeking work where he can. He learns enough of the language to discuss measurements and materials, to accept payment without confusion. Sometimes he returns late, shoulders tired, hands covered in the fine dust that comes from smoothing wood. He steps into the small home and sees Mary and the child, the lamplight shaping their faces into a scene that feels like a small harbor in this unfamiliar sea. At night, when the town has hushed and the sounds outside are no more than a distant murmur, Joseph and Mary speak softly of home. They remember Nazareth's hills, Bethlehem's crowded nights, relatives and neighbors whose faces feel close inside their minds. There is a longing there, a quiet ache for places where they do not have to explain themselves, where every word flows easily from their tongues. Yet mingled with that longing is gratitude. The danger they were warned about has not touched them here. The Lord has given them space in this foreign land, work to support them, neighbors who are slowly becoming less wary, and time for the child to grow under his watchful care. Matthew later writes that this season fulfills ancient words about God calling his son out of Egypt. For Joseph and Mary living it day by day, it is simply obedience stretched over many ordinary mornings and evenings. For you listening tonight, this household in Egypt offers gentle comfort if you find yourself far from where you expected to be. Perhaps you live in a place that still feels more like a stopover than a home. Surrounded by customs you are still learning. Perhaps you inhabit a season that does not match your earlier plans, one that feels borrowed or temporary, even as days stack quietly into months. In this story, God's presence is not limited to familiar soil. He does not wait for Joseph and Mary to return to their own country before he draws close. His care meets them in the rental rooms and side streets of a foreign town, in the daily work of earning enough and the daily grace of learning new ways to live. The child at the center of it all is not unsettled by how different everything looks. He is the same Emmanuel here as in Bethlehem, God with us in every country, in every in-between place. As you picture the little house on that Egyptian lane, imagine the warm lamplight turning its rough walls gentle at night. Imagine the child asleep, one hand curled near his face, breathing soft and slow. Outside, distant voices fade. A cart's last rattle over stone grows quiet. A breeze slips down the street, carrying scents of spices and cooling earth. Inside, peace settles. Not because everything is as they would have chosen, but because they are held inside God's careful plan. You too can rest under that same kind of care, even if you do not feel fully at home in your current surroundings, even if part of your heart still looks backward or forward. Tonight, you are invited to be present to this one simple truth. God is with you here. As your eyes grow heavy, you can let your breathing match the steady rhythm of that small household in Egypt, trusting that the one who guarded them in a foreign land is also watching tenderly over you. Years pass in the small Egyptian town, quietly stitching themselves into a life that almost feels settled. Joseph repairs doorways and tables until his hands know every knot in the wood. Mary learns the market rhythms, the seasons when certain fruits appear, the habits of neighbors whose faces are no longer strange. The child grows through those years, first wobbling on unsure feet, then running in small circles across the floor, filling the home with laughter and questions. They have learned which streets flood during sudden rains and which corners are safest for the child to play under watchful eyes. The foreignness has not disappeared, but it has softened, like bright cloth washed many times until it feels comfortably worn. Yet beneath this woven life lies a quiet awareness. This is not forever. The God who brought them here has not spoken yet about leaving, but his promises have always been larger than one town, larger than one temporary shelter. Joseph carries that awareness like a folded letter in his heart, waiting for the day it might be opened. One night, sleep comes to him as it often does. After he checks the door, banks the embers of the fire, and watches the child's even breathing. The room darkens, the noise outside fades, and the thin line between waking and dreaming narrows. Once again, in that gentle place, God speaks. In the dream, the messenger of the Lord stands before him, familiar now in the calm certainty that rests in his presence. There is no flurry of wings, no overwhelming blaze, only the steady light of someone who comes with purpose. "Get up," the messenger says. "Take the child and his mother and go to the land of Israel, for those who were trying to take the child's life are dead." The words carry both release and responsibility. The danger that once drove them into this land has been dealt with. Herod is gone. Yet the path ahead is not entirely simple. Leaving the safety they have found means stepping back into uncertainty, into a country that may have changed while they were away, into regions still watched by rulers whose hearts Joseph does not know. He wakes with the dream still clear, its words bright as if they had been etched into the air. The room is the same. Rough walls, resting tools, the faint glow of coals. But his heart knows that something has shifted. The folded letter within him has been opened. It is time to go home. In the dimness, he leans toward Mary and speaks softly. She listens, eyes sharpening from sleep to understanding as he tells her of the messenger's command. There is no long argument, no clinging to what they have built here, though her heart tugs toward familiar faces and routines. She knows this pattern now. When God speaks, they move. The next days are filled with the work of gentle departure. Joseph finishes promised tasks, repairing one last bench, tightening one last hinge. Mary folds garments that have served them well and tucks away small reminders of the years spent here. They say quiet goodbyes, a word at the well, a nod to the baker, a smile to children who have grown alongside their son. The road out of town feels both new and strangely familiar. It is another beginning before dawn, another bundle secured on an animal's back, another step into a future lit just enough for today. The child walks more than he once did, holding Mary's hand as his shorter legs match their pace. When he tires, Joseph lifts him, and the boy rests trustingly against his shoulder, just as he did on the road into Egypt. As they travel, Joseph thinks of the news hidden inside the dream, of a king who is no longer on the throne, of shifting powers and events he has not witnessed and cannot fully imagine. He does not know all the details Matthew will later record. He only knows that the God who watched them in Egypt is now calling them back. That knowledge is enough to quiet questions that might have kept him awake. For you listening tonight, this return journey may speak to places in you that are also waking from long seasons of holding back. Perhaps you have lived in a kind of inner exile, doing your best in a situation that was never meant to be permanent. You have learned how to survive there, even how to be gently faithful. But part of your heart has always waited for a sign that it is safe to move forward again. God's timing in this story is careful. He does not rush Joseph and Mary back before the danger has passed, nor does he leave them without direction once it has. His word arrives not to stir panic, but to release them into the next chapter of their calling. In the same way, there may come a moment for you when the weight you have carried begins to lift, when staying where you are no longer feels like trust, but like fear. As you picture the small family traveling north, let their steady steps calm your own thoughts about change. They do not sprint toward Israel. They walk at a pace that honors the needs of a child and the limits of their bodies. They carry memories of both danger and protection, but they do not let either memory freeze them in place. They move because God has said it is time. You do not need to force such a moment for yourself tonight. You do not have to decide everything before you sleep. It is enough to know that the God who watched over this family in a foreign land also watches over the movements of your life. With each breath you take, you can loosen your grip on the fears that keep you from imagining change, trusting that when it is truly time for you to move out of a season, a habit, a heavy place, God will speak clearly enough for your heart to understand. For now, you can rest in that promise, lying quietly in your own room as they walk under patient stars. Guided by the same faithful hand, the road back into Israel feels both familiar and changed. Landmarks Joseph remembers from years past rise on the horizon. The curve of a certain hill, the outline of a distant town, the way the light falls on olive groves as afternoon leans toward evening. Yet word travels along these same roads faster than he would like. Travelers speak of rulers, decrees, and tensions that make his heart tighten a little. Somewhere along the way, Joseph hears the name that troubles him most. Archelaus, son of Herod, now rules in Judea. The news settles in his chest like a stone. Herod may be gone, just as the angel said. But the shadow of his house still stretches over the region where Bethlehem lies. Joseph thinks of the child walking beside him, of the danger they once fled, and he feels the old fear reach for him again. That night, as they rest, God speaks into the unease. Matthew later tells how, warned in another dream, Joseph is directed away from Judea and toward the region of Galilee. The pattern is familiar now, God's guidance arriving not as a full map, but as a clear turn at the right moment. Joseph wakes with the sense that their path has been gently redirected by hands he can trust. So they adjust their course. Instead of returning to Bethlehem or staying near the seat of power, they angle northward, toward hills that rise softer, toward villages that live a little farther from the center of attention. The road bends past fields and small towns. Slowly, the name Nazareth comes into view, not in shining letters, but in the simple reality of a hillside village settled among trees and stone. Nazareth is not famous. It does not draw caravans in the way larger cities do. Houses are built close to the land, their walls blending with the earth's colors. Voices carry across courtyards as people call to one another over daily tasks. Children weave between doorways and paths, dust puffing at their heels. It is a place where lives are measured in seasons and harvests, in births and meals, in quiet faithfulness that rarely makes its way into official records. Here, Joseph chooses to make a home. He finds a modest house, perhaps one he can repair as they settle in. The walls need smoothing. The door hangs a little unevenly. Yet he sees what can be, not only what is. Mary steps inside and imagines where mats will be laid, where bread will rest after baking, where the child will sleep. The space is small, but it is theirs, held inside the will of the God who has led them here. Joseph sets up his tools again. Wood shavings begin to gather on the floor of a corner that becomes his workshop. The steady rhythm of his work returns, measuring, cutting, fitting, smoothing. He repairs yokes for animals, builds stools and tables, replaces broken beams. People come and go, at first simply looking for a tradesman, then slowly recognizing him as part of the village itself. Mary learns the new patterns of this place, the particular slope of the path to the well, the best times to bake when the air is cool, the way shadows fall across the courtyard as the day turns. She makes simple meals, kneads dough, washes clothes by the spring, and finds her own place in the weave of women's quiet conversations. The child, growing each year, helps in small ways. He carries pieces of wood that are light enough for his hands, holds nails steady while Joseph taps gently, learns how to sweep the workshop floor so dust settles instead of rising. He listens when scripture is read in the synagogue and repeats lines at home with a seriousness beyond his years. He also laughs, plays, and runs along the lanes with other children, his feet knowing every dip and stone in the paths of Nazareth. For all its ordinariness, this village becomes the stage on which promises are quietly kept. Matthew notes that living here fulfills words spoken long ago, that he would be called a Nazarene. To those in the moment, it looks like simple practicality, choosing a place far from danger, where a family can live and work in relative peace. Yet beneath their everyday decisions, God's larger design unfolds, precise and gentle. For you listening tonight, Nazareth's simplicity may mirror your own days. You may feel that your life is made of small things, commutes and dishes, emails and errands, conversations that do not seem grand enough to matter. You may wonder if God is more present in extraordinary moments than in the long stretch of routines that fill most of your time. This part of the story whispers a different truth. For years, the Son of God lives here in quiet obscurity, learning how to hold tools, how to listen, how to move through ordinary days with grace. The world does not yet know his name. There are no crowds, no recorded sermons, no miracles in the streets. There is only faithfulness, wood-shaped well, bread baked with care, prayers rising at dusk from a simple home on a slope. As you imagine Nazareth tonight, picture the village under a calm sky. The day's work is done. A soft glow seeps from doorways where families gather over evening meals. The sound of conversation drifts out in low tones, then fades as one home after another settles into rest. In Joseph and Mary's house, the lamp burns low. The child lies on his mat, eyes growing heavy as Mary hums a tune he has known since infancy. Joseph's tools rest, leaned neatly against the wall. You can let your own breathing fall into step with this rhythm. No one in Nazareth is rushing to impress the world tonight. They are simply living one quiet evening inside God's sight. In the same way, your worth is not measured by how visible your life is or how dramatic your story appears. The God who chose Nazareth as the place to raise his son does not despise smallness or routine. He meets his people in workshops and kitchens, in neighborhood paths and worn-out chairs. So as you lie where you are, you can let the pressure to be remarkable slip from your shoulders. Picture yourself in that hillside village, sitting on a simple bench outside the house as the sky darkens. Feel the coolness of the stone under you, the soft brush of night air on your face. Somewhere nearby, the boy who will one day speak peace to storms is sleeping peacefully, wrapped in the same quiet that now settles over your own room. Under that shared quiet, you are free to rest. The God who is present in every unnoticed day of Nazareth is present in this one for you. He sees your ordinary faithfulness, your quiet kindnesses, your tired efforts to make it through each day. And as you close your eyes, you can trust that His presence fills even the most ordinary spaces of your life with a gentle, unshakable peace. The years in Nazareth slide quietly into one another until the boy becomes a man, and word begins to travel along Galilean paths in a new way. Fishermen speak His name as they mend their nets by the shore. Mothers mention Him over grinding stones and baking fires. Those who have heard Him teach in synagogues say there is authority in His voice that feels both strong and gentle, like a firm hand resting kindly on a tired shoulder. One day, He walks up a hillside near the lake, and people follow. They come from villages scattered along the water's edge and from farther inland, where fields rise and fall in patient rows. Some bring questions that have never found satisfying answers. Others bring worries so ordinary, they hardly seem worthy of a teacher's attention. Yet all of them climb because something in Him feels like rest. He sits down on the slope, and they settle around Him. Grass bends under sandals and worn tunics. A few children press close to their parents, eyes wide, sensing that this is no ordinary gathering. The lake below reflects the sky in a slow, silver shimmer. A light breeze moves through the crowd, lifting the edge of cloaks, carrying the faint scent of water and distant cooking fires. Then He begins to speak blessing. He does not start with the powerful or the comfortable. His words reach first for those who feel empty of resources, poor in spirit, uncertain they have anything to offer. He calls them blessed, not because their lives are easy, but because God's kingdom leans towards them, filling the spaces where their strength runs thin. He speaks of those who mourn, saying that comfort will find them. He honors the gentle-hearted, the ones who do not push to the front, promising they will inherit more than they can imagine. He blesses those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, not perfection in the eyes of neighbors, but a deep rightness in their relationship with God and others. He speaks peace over the merciful, reassuring them that their kindness is seen. He lifts up the pure in heart, those who long simply to see God without pretense. And He calls peacemakers children of God, folding them tenderly into God's own family name. For some listening on that hillside, the words land like rain on parched ground. They have lived under systems that reward sharp elbows and loud voices. Here at last, someone is speaking blessing over the quiet, the overlooked, the ones who have tried to do good and wondered if anyone noticed. The man who speaks these blessings is the same child who once slept in a manger and journeyed under starlight and danger. Now grown, He looks over the crowd with eyes that have known both obscurity and the weight of a calling. He's not distant. He sees their faces, the lines carved by years of worry, the way shoulders curl inward from long habit. He knows the Roman taxes that press against their livelihood and the religious burdens some have been made to carry like heavy packs. He tells them that their Father in heaven knows their needs. He points to birds of the air, small and ordinary, yet fed without frantic storing. He draws their attention to wildflowers, brief in their blooming, yet clothed in beauty that no ruler's robe can truly match. He's not scolding them for their worry. He is loosening its grip, inviting them to shift their gaze from what they cannot control to the God who already holds them. For you listening tonight, tired from your own hills, this scene offers a gentle place to rest. You may feel poor in spirit in ways no one else sees. You may have a hunger for what is right that leaves you worn. You may have tried to keep peace in your small corner of the world and wondered if it mattered. On this hillside, Jesus calls such people blessed. Not once they have fixed themselves, not once circumstances brighten, but here, as they sit in the grass with questions still unanswered. His words move even now, across time like a soft wind, reaching toward you where you lay. You are not required to earn his attention. You have it already, simply because you exist under his care. As the crowd breathes in his teaching, a different kind of quiet settles. Not the silence of fear, but the stillness that comes when a trembling heart begins to realize it is safe. People shift, leaning a little more comfortably into the hillside, letting the tension in their shoulders ease. Children relax against their parents. Someone closes their eyes briefly, just to let the sound of his voice sink deeper. You can join them in that posture. Imagine the feel of the hillside beneath you, firm and supporting, the grass cool under your hands. Hear the gentle lap of water against the shore below, the murmur of others around you, settling into calm. Jesus' voice moves steadily, not hurried, not sharp. Each phrase like another stone laid into a path of peace beneath your feet. With each slow breath you take, you can let another of his blessings rest over you. Blessed when you feel small and emptied out. Blessed when your heart aches. Blessed when you long for what is right and good. Blessed when you choose mercy, even when it is costly. Blessed when you make peace quietly in your home, your work, your own thoughts. As the sun lowers and the light softens across the hillside, the teaching draws to a pause. People do not rush away. They sit a little longer, as if reluctant to leave the calm that has settled over them. When they finally stand and begin to move back down toward their homes, they carry more than words. They carry the sense that heaven has leaned close, that God sees them, that a blessing has been spoken over lives that once felt unnoticed. Under that same blessing, you are free to let your eyes grow heavy. The hillside can fade gently in your mind, like a landscape glimpsed from a window as you slow your pace. What remains is the steady truth at the heart of his message. You are seen, you are loved, and you are invited to rest in a kingdom where anxious hearts are held, not hurried. Let that truth cradle you now, as the night settles softly around you. Another day begins along the Galilean hills, and the worries of the people wake up as quickly as the light. In streets below, merchants lift the shutters of their stalls, thinking of taxes due and goods that must be sold. Parents glance at small baskets of grain and wonder if they will stretch through the week, and fishermen look toward the lake, measuring the wind and remembering nights when their nets came up nearly empty. Jesus walks with his friends along a sloping path where the town gives way to open land. The air is cooler here, away from the tight press of houses. Grass sways in low ripples when the breeze moves, and the sky feels wider, as if there is more room to breathe. He knows the questions pressing on the hearts of those who follow him. Questions about food, clothing, survival, and all the ordinary needs that can feel bigger than mountains when you lie awake at night. He stops where the hillside opens onto a view of the valley. People gather around, some settling on stones, others folding their legs under them in the grass. A few children chase one another at the edges, then quiet as they realize he is about to speak. The wind shifts gently, brushing against faces and lifting loose strands of hair. "Do not worry about your life," he says, "what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear." His tone is not sharp. He's not scolding them for being human. Instead, his words sound like hands carefully untying knots. He knows what it is to live under the weight of daily need. He points toward the sky, where small birds trace arcs from branch to branch. "Look at the birds of the air," he tells them. They do not plant fields or gather into storage barns, yet their Father feeds them. The people follow his gesture, watching the birds flit and circle. They have seen these same creatures all their lives, but now they are invited to see them differently, not as background, but as living reminders of God's steady care. "Are you not much more valuable than they?" he asks. The question lingers in the air. Some in the crowd have never truly considered their own worth before God. They know how officials value them, as taxpayers, as laborers, as names on lists. But their Father in heaven sees them with a tenderness that far exceeds his care for birds that are never forgotten. Then he turns their attention to the hillside itself. Wildflowers spring up among the grasses, their colors gentle but bright against the green. "See how the flowers of the field grow," he says. "They do not work or spin." He pauses, letting them really look. The crowd falls even more still. Threads of color catch the late light, soft whites, pale yellows, hints of deep blue. These plants will not last long. In a few days or weeks, they will fade and fall, taken by sun and wind. Yet God has clothed them in beauty for the short time they stand. If that is how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and tomorrow is thrown into the fire, Jesus continues, will he not much more clothe you, you of little faith? The words little faith land not as condemnation, but as gentle honesty. He knows how quickly fear can shrink trust. Then he speaks directly to the tangle in their thoughts. "So do not worry, saying, 'What shall we eat?' or 'What shall we drink?' or 'What shall we wear?'" These questions sound familiar because they are the ones that circle quietly inside many hearts. They are not wrong questions, but they become heavy when they are carried alone, without any sense of God walking alongside. "For the pagans run after all these things," he says, "and your heavenly Father knows that you need them." It is not wrong to need food, clothing, shelter. Jesus does not tell them to pretend they are above such needs. Instead, he invites them to rest in the knowledge that their Father is already aware. They are not surprising him with their hunger or their bills. "Seek first his kingdom and his righteousness," he tells them, "and all these things will be given to you as well." Seeking God's kingdom does not mean ignoring responsibilities. It means letting love for God and neighbor shape how they move through each day, trusting that as they walk in his ways, he will see to it that their needs are met in the right time and way. Then he says a sentence that has soothed many anxious hearts through the centuries. "Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself." Each day has enough trouble of its own. He is not promising that tomorrow will always be easy. He is gently drawing a boundary around their concern. Today has enough to hold. They are invited to live this day with trust, releasing the weight of days they have not yet reached. For you listening tonight, this hillside teaching leans tenderly toward your own worries. You may know exactly what it feels like to stare at numbers that do not add up, to wonder how you will manage responsibilities that stack higher than your strength. You may carry concerns that pull your thoughts in many directions at once. Jesus does not dismiss these things as unimportant. He lifts them into the light of a Father who already knows. As you picture the birds settling into their nests for the evening, and the flowers folding into the dark, you can let your shoulders lower. You have done what you could today. The rest is not meant to be carried in your hands through the night. Let your breathing follow the slow rhythm of evening on that hillside. Inhale as the light softens. Exhale as the valley grows quiet. Tomorrow will arrive in its own time, and when it does, the same God who watched over you today will meet you there. For now, you are allowed to live only this moment, to lie here, to listen, to rest in the care of a Father who counts every bird and clothes every flower and holds your life even more gently than these. On a dusty village path, the afternoon light lies warm across the ground, turning scattered pebbles into small, bright shapes beneath bare feet. The day has been full, crowds gathering, questions asked and answered, hands reaching out for healing and hope. As Jesus walks with his friends toward a quieter edge of town, the air still carries the soft echo of voices and the rustle of people slowly returning to their homes. Behind them, another group is forming, smaller and less orderly. Parents move with careful urgency, each carrying or guiding a child. Tiny sandals slap against the earth. Some little ones ride on hips, arms looped around their mothers' necks. Others hold tightly to hands, tugging and stumbling as they try to match adult steps. Their hair is sticking up in places from play. Dust marks their knees. Faces flush with the excitement of movement, eyes bright with curiosity. They have heard about Jesus too. Not every child understands the words people use for him: teacher, prophet, healer. But they sense something in the way their parents speak his name, a mixture of hope and relief. For those who bring them, this is not an errand of politeness. It is a quiet, urgent longing. They want their children blessed, held in the care of the one who seems to carry God's kindness wherever he goes. As they approach, some of the disciples see the cluster of families drawing near. Tired from the day, their first thought is to protect Jesus from more demands. They step forward, hands raised, and begin to turn the parents away. The teacher is tired, their faces seem to say. He has already given enough today. Take the children home. Let them rest elsewhere. The children sense the tension in the air. A few shrink back, half hiding behind their parents' robes. One child clutches a small woven toy tighter. Another looks from the disciples to Jesus with wide, questioning eyes. They are used to being moved aside, used to older conversations taking priority, used to being told to wait. But Jesus sees what is happening. Matthew tells us in 19:13-15 that people brought children to him for him to place his hands on them and pray, and that the disciples tried to rebuke them. His response is gentle, but firm enough to change the moment. "Let the little children come to me," he says, "and do not hinder them. For the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these." The disciples step back, their protective line opening into a welcome. Jesus turns toward the children and their parents, his face softening into a smile that reaches his eyes. He lowers himself to their level, knees bending so he is not towering above them. The dust of the path rises faintly as he crouches, making room not just in his schedule, but in his posture. One child is the first to move forward, drawn by the open kindness on his face. Small feet pad across the ground, and tiny fingers reach for his hand. Jesus receives them as easily as if he has been waiting all day just for this. He places his hands gently on the child's head, a touch that is both blessing and affirmation. You matter. You are seen. More children follow. Some sit in his lap, their weight resting against him with complete trust. Others stand close enough that their shoulders brush his sleeve. He listens to their halting words, their simple questions, their stories about lost animals and favorite games. His answers are not impatient summaries. He meets them where they are, taking their small concerns seriously. He prays over them, quiet, specific prayers, asking his Father to keep them, to guard their growing hearts, to surround them with mercy. Parents watch with eyes full of something that is part gratitude, part relief. In a world where children can be overlooked or considered interruptions, their sons and daughters are, for this precious time, at the very center of God's attention. For you listening tonight, perhaps a part of you still feels like one of those children, uncertain if you are welcome, wondering if your presence is a burden, half expecting to be told that your need is too small, your worry too childish, your heart too complicated. Maybe you have internalized the disciples' first instinct, assuming God is too busy or too tired for your particular concerns. This scene offers a different truth. The one who welcomes children does so not as a public gesture, but as an honest expression of his heart. When he says that the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these, he is not romanticizing childhood. He is honoring trust, openness, and the simple willingness to come as you are without pretense. He is protecting the tender from being pushed aside by the more confident or efficient. You may be grown now, with responsibilities that weigh heavily on your shoulders, but there is still a childlike, vulnerable part of you that longs to be received rather than managed. Tonight, you are invited to bring that part to Him. You do not have to have polished words or perfect composure. You can come with tangled thoughts, with fears that feel small in the world's eyes, but large in your own chest, with questions you are almost embarrassed to ask. Picture yourself on that path, standing just beyond the circle of children. You hesitate, then take a small step forward. Jesus notices. His gaze finds yours in the gentle light of the afternoon. He does not frown or gesture for you to wait. He makes room, just as He did for them. There is space near Him, not only for the strong and composed, but for you, with all that you carry. As you draw closer in your imagination, you can feel the dust under your feet, the warmth of the sun softening under a sky that is beginning to cool. You hear His voice blessing the children, words low and sure. Then, in the quiet between phrases, you realize that the blessing extends to you as well. Not because you have earned it, but because His heart is generous. Let that awareness settle over you like a cloak. You are not an interruption. You are not an afterthought. You are someone He is willing to make time and space for, even at the end of a long day. As you lie where you are, you can rest as one of those children, safe in the knowledge that you are welcome, held within a love that is patient, attentive, and endlessly kind. Evening comes slowly over the hills, turning the stones from bright to muted and the grass from sharp green to gentle gray. A single shepherd walks along a worn path, his staff tapping lightly against the ground. The flock moves ahead of him in a soft, shifting cluster, their wool catching the last of the light like small clouds drifting across the slope. He knows each animal by more than number. He knows the lazy one that always lags, the curious one that noses at everything, the nervous one that startles at shadows. He knows the small lamb that tends to stay near his feet, walking close enough that the hem of his tunic brushes its back. His eyes move over them again and again, counting without needing to speak. This is His work, but it is also His care. As the light fades, He leads them toward a fold He has used many nights before. A safe place tucked into the curve of the hill, where rough stones form a low wall and a natural rise offers shelter from the wind. The flock presses inward, hooves making a soft, steady noise as they enter. He stands at the opening, counting as they pass, his hand moving almost unconsciously with each familiar form. 96, 97, 98, 99. He pauses. The numbers stop before they should. One is missing. Instantly, he knows which one. Not because he has a written list, but because love has made an invisible map in his mind. It is the wandering sheep, the one with a tendency to drift toward the edges, drawn by clumps of grass just beyond where it should safely graze. The shepherd scans the hillside. The flock inside the fold shifts restlessly, sensing his alertness, then quiets as he steps back out into the growing dark. Some might say that 99 out of 100 is good enough. But in this shepherd's heart, the missing one is not a rounding error. It is a real, living creature whose absence leaves a gap. So he closes the fold as securely as he can, entrusting the 99 to the safety he has prepared. And then he turns back onto the hillside to look for the one that has wandered. The sky deepens into indigo. Stars begin to appear, one by one, as if a careful hand is lighting small lamps in the vastness. The shepherd's feet know this terrain. He has walked it in daylight and in dusk, in seasons when it blooms, and in seasons when it lies harsh and bare. Now he moves with patient determination, scanning the slopes, listening for any sound that does not belong to the night's usual chorus. A branch snaps somewhere above him. He pauses, head tilted. There, carried on the wind, comes a faint, uneven cry. A sound of distress that could easily be swallowed by the distance if he were not listening for it. He climbs toward it, his steps steady rather than rushed. Fear could make him careless, but love keeps him attentive. Loose stones shift under his sandals. Shrubs brush against his legs. As he draws closer, the bleating becomes clearer, more frantic. Finally, he sees the sheep, caught in a narrow dip between rocks, unable to back out, and too afraid to move forward. The shepherd kneels, speaking softly. His voice is low and reassuring, the same tone he uses when the flock spooks at a passing shadow. Slowly, he eases the animal free. Its legs tremble. It would run if it could, but the effort has drained its strength. Instead, it stands there, sides heaving, eyes wide, looking up at him. He could scold. He could point out that the others stayed, that this one would not be in danger had it remained within the fold. But he doesn't. He lifts the sheep onto his shoulders, settling its weight in a practiced way. His hands hold its legs gently but firmly. The animal's breath warms the side of his neck as he begins the walk back, one careful step at a time. Jesus once told a story like this in Matthew 18:12-14, describing a shepherd who leaves 99 on the hills to search for the one that has wandered. He said that, in the same way, your Father in heaven is not willing that any of these little ones should perish. It was not a lesson in statistics. It was a window into God's heart, into his unwillingness to write off any life as too far gone or not worth the effort. For you listening tonight, perhaps some part of you feels like that wandering sheep. You may have drifted slowly, not with one dramatic decision, but with a series of small steps, choices made out of fear, exhaustion, or simple distraction. Maybe you have ended up in a place that feels tight and confining, unsure how to back out, too tired to move forward on your own. Your thoughts may sound like that thin, uncertain bleat on the hillside. Not eloquent, not confident, just honest. This story whispers that you are not forgotten. The God who counts his flock does not shrug and say, 99 is enough. His care is particular. He notices which spot is empty, which heart feels far, which life is tangled in thorns of regret or confusion. He comes not with scolding, but with a steady presence, arriving in ways you may not always expect. A verse that lands gently in your mind, a kind word from someone you did not think remembered you, a moment of unexpected peace when you were braced for more fear. As you picture the shepherd walking back through the night, the rescued sheep resting on his shoulders, you can let your own breathing match his pace. Inhale as he steps forward. Exhale as the hillside slowly unfurls behind him in the dark. The sheep does not have to direct the route or explain how it became lost. It only has to rest its weight on the one who is carrying it. You are invited into that same rest. You do not have to fix every wrong turn tonight. You do not have to untangle every knot in your story before you sleep. You can simply allow your heart to lean, in trust, toward the one who has already chosen to come looking. When the shepherd reaches the fold, the 99 are safe, just as he left them. He opens the way and steps inside, lowering the once lost sheep onto steady legs. For a moment, the animal stands close to him, as if reluctant to leave the circle of his arms. Then it moves back among the others, now enclosed again in the safety of the place prepared for them. Under the same faithful watch, you can close your eyes. The night outside your window may be dark, but you are not alone out on the hills. You are carried, known, and gently returned again and again to a place of safety in God's care, even when your steps have wandered. Let that assurance settle over you like a soft blanket, and allow sleep to come as the shepherd's steady footsteps fade into the quiet of a well-guarded fold. The day has been long, and the air in the small town carries the weary sounds of evening. Shopkeepers slide wooden shutters into place. A woman draws water at the well for the final time before night, her shoulders rounding under the weight of the jar. Children's voices soften as they are called indoors. Jesus walks through the streets, seeing more than routines. He notices the lines at the corners of eyes, the way hands linger a moment on door frames as if steadying themselves before stepping into yet another round of tasks. He hears snatches of conversation, worries about taxes, about illness, about debts that will not shrink. Around him, people carry burdens that are not only made of wood or stone or water, but of expectation, disappointment, and quiet fear. He steps out toward the edge of town, where a small open space offers room to pause. Those who have followed him gather there, some sitting on worn stones, others lowering themselves to the ground. A few remain standing, arms folded, not out of defiance, but because they are not yet used to resting. The sky above them shifts toward evening, colors deepening before slipping into blue. Jesus looks at them for a moment in silence. His gaze moves from face to face, taking in the fatigue they barely try to hide. He knows not only the burdens they speak of, but the ones they avoid naming. The shame they carry from mistakes, the weight of old regrets, the invisible pressure to be enough in a world that often seems to demand more than they can give. Then he speaks words that are as simple as they are deep. "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened," he says, "and I will give you rest." The invitation falls into the evening air like cool water poured over hot stone. It is not a command to try harder or a list of tasks to complete. It is an opening, a door into his own heart. He does not say, "Fix yourselves and then come." He calls them as they are, with dirt still on their hands, questions still unsolved, hearts still heavy. He goes on, "Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart." Many in the crowd know what a yoke feels like. The heavy wooden beam laid across the necks of animals to make them pull a load. Some know a different kind of yoke, strict expectations that have grown heavier than their souls can bear. His promise is not the removal of all responsibility, but a different way of carrying it, shared with one whose strength does not fail and whose heart is never harsh. For you will find rest for your souls, he says. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. The words rest for your souls reach beyond tired muscles and aching joints. They move into the deep places where worry churns, even when the body finally lies down. The restlessness that stirs at night when everything is quiet except the mind. Some in the crowd feel tears prick at the edges of their eyes without knowing exactly why. They have carried the belief that God is always disappointed, always just out of reach, always asking more. To hear that the one sent from the Father is gentle and humble in heart, offering rest instead of relentless pressure, feels almost too kind to trust. Yet something in his eyes, in the steady warmth of his voice, invites them to believe. For you listening tonight, these words are offered as much to you as to those who first heard them. You know what it is to be weary, not only from the work that fills your days, but from the strain of holding yourself together, of meeting expectations, of carrying concerns about those you love. You may lie down and find that your body is still braced, as if you are holding up a weight that refuses to set itself aside. Jesus does not ask you to pretend that your burdens are small. He does not tell you to ignore responsibilities or deny grief. Instead, he invites you to bring their full, honest weight to him. Come to me, he says, not to an idea or a ritual, but to a person who has walked dust-heavy streets, felt the press of crowds, and known what it is to be tired. In the open space at the edge of that town, you can picture yourself among the listeners. Perhaps you sit on a smooth stone, the day's dust still on your feet, your hands resting in your lap. The sky above deepens. A few lamps flicker to life in nearby homes, tiny points of light against the growing blue. Jesus' words linger in the air, wrapping gently around the raw places inside you. With each slow breath, you can imagine setting down one burden after another at his feet. The conversation that replayed in your mind all day. The decision you are not sure how to make. The worry about tomorrow's bills or tomorrow's news. You do not have to solve them in this moment. You are simply allowed to admit that they are heavy, and to let him carry the part you cannot. His yoke for you tonight may look like one simple step, allowing yourself to rest without earning it, trusting that the world will not collapse if you close your eyes, believing, even a little, that you are more than the sum of what you accomplish. As you lean into that trust, your shoulders may drop a fraction, your jaw may unclench, your breathing may deepen. The evening grows darker now. Stars emerge quietly overhead. The crowd begins to thin as people return to their homes, but the invitation remains, settled like a blessing over the town. Rest for your soul is not something you must chase down. It is something given by the one who has already carried the heaviest burden of love on your behalf. As you lie where you are, you can let his words be the last ones that echo in your mind. Come to me, and I will give you rest. Let them sink slowly into the places where tension hides. Let them soften the edges of your thoughts. Under their shelter, you are free to release what you are holding and to slip gently into sleep, knowing that you rest in the care of a gentle and humble heart that will not let you go. The night near Bethlehem is quiet again, years after that first crowded census season. The fields lie under a familiar winter sky. Though the town's streets have changed in small ways, only neighbors notice. New stones have been added to old walls. Children who once needed lifting now walk the lanes with their own little ones. Yet some things remain the same. the breath of sheep in the cool air, the low crackle of small fires, the patient watch of those who stay awake while others sleep. A few shepherds sit around a fire on the hillside, much like the ones who once saw the sky blaze with song. The embers glow deep red at the center, while thin flames flicker up when a stick is added. Above them, stars hang steady, untroubled by the changes of kings and seasons. Stories are told in low voices, some about the day's work, some about long ago events that have become almost like family memory. They speak again of that night when angels filled the air, of the words about good news and great joy, of the instructions to find a child wrapped in cloths and lying in a manger. Some of those who heard it firsthand are gone now, their watch concluded, their rest taken. But the story remains, carried in the voices of those who remember them. It is told beside fires and at tables, in doorways and along footpaths, each retelling a small act of holding on. If you could walk quietly among these fields now, you would see the simple beauty of what God has left in place. Grass that has grown and withered and grown again. Stones that have felt countless footsteps. Olive trees stretching their branches toward a sky that has watched every year pass. And in the distance, the town where a child once cried out at birth and then settled into the comfort of his mother's arms. That child has grown, has walked these lands teaching and healing, has given himself in love beyond what any heart expected, and has risen again, just as he promised. Matthew tells us that, at the end of his earthly ministry, he spoke words that reach all the way from a hillside in Galilee into every room where someone is listening tonight. Surely I am with you always, to the very end of the age. Always. Not only in stables and synagogues, not only on boats and hillsides, not only in moments when the sky seems to sing. Always includes quiet kitchens, crowded markets, lonely paths, and the stillness of night. When you lie awake thinking of things no one else knows. Always includes days that feel bright and whole, and days that feel frayed at the edges. As the shepherds on this hillside shift closer to the warmth, pulling their cloaks around their shoulders, you can imagine the glow of the fire washing over their faces. Lines from years of wind and work are softened in the dancing light. One leans back to look at the stars, remembering that long ago choir. Another stirs the embers, coaxing a little more brightness from what seemed almost spent. Their watch tonight may seem ordinary compared to the night of angels, yet it is holy in its own quiet way. They are still keeping an eye on their flocks, still making sure that no one wanders too far, still staying alert so others can rest. What they once heard has not been canceled by the passing of time. On earth, peace still whispers over these slopes. Not as a loud announcement now, but as a steady undercurrent beneath the sounds of sheep and wind. For you, this moment can be like sitting at the edge of their circle, feeling the warmth of the fire reach your hands, even though you are far away. You have heard this Christmas story before. The angel's message, the manger, the visitors from near and far. Perhaps it has become familiar. Yet beneath every retelling lies the same astonishing truth. God has chosen not to remain distant. In Jesus, He has drawn near and chosen to stay. Whatever this season has held for you, joys that made your heart lift, sorrows that made it sink, or simply a long stretch of ordinary days, you are not outside the reach of that "with you always" promise. It extends into your specific life, into your particular room, into the very thoughts that are moving slowly through your mind right now. You are not just one more anonymous face in a crowd of billions. You are known. The way a shepherd knows the shape of each sheep in the dark, so as the fire on the hillside settles into a deep, steady glow, and the shepherd's voices grow quieter, you can allow your own inner noise to soften. Let the picture of that winter sky above Bethlehem steady you. The same Lord who once lay as a child under that canopy of stars now watches over you with unchanging care. His presence does not flicker with your feelings. It holds, constant and kind. If sleep feels slow to come, that is all right. You are allowed simply to lie here and be, without performing, without proving anything. The story has already been written in which God comes close, and you are already included in it. Like a lamb resting within the circle of a quiet flock, you can let your thoughts wander gently without following each one. The shepherd of your soul is awake. You do not have to be, though. He keeps watch so you can finally loosen your grip on the day. You do not need to reach for special words. A simple, quiet, "You are here with me," whispered in your heart, is enough. Let your breathing ease. Each exhale a small release of tension into hands strong enough to carry it. Under this Christmas peace in Matthew's story, your anxious heart is gently invited to rest, held not by wishes or sentiment, but by the living promise of Emmanuel, God with us, now and always. As this gentle night deepens around you, the stories we have walked through together, Nazareth rooms and Bethlehem fields, distant stars and quiet village paths, can now rest softly in the background of your thoughts. You do not have to hold each detail. You only need to know that at the center of them all stands Jesus, Emmanuel, God with us, steady and kind. He has been near in every scene, in Joseph's troubled dreams, in Mary's long journeys, in the shepherd's fields and the traveler's search, in Egypt's foreign streets and Nazareth's ordinary days. The same presence that watched over them watches over you now, in your own room, with your own worries and hopes, your own quiet breathing in the dark. If your heart still feels a little anxious, that is all right. You are not asked to be perfectly calm, to be perfectly loved. The one who invited the weary and burdened to come to him receives you exactly as you are. Tonight, you are not a problem to be fixed. You are a beloved soul to be gently held. So may the Lord bless you and keep you. May his face, full of patient mercy, shine upon you even when your eyes are closed. May his peace, the same peace that rested over a manger and a hillside and a quiet upper room, settle now over your mind, your body, and your sleep. May you find, deep beneath every restless thought, the steady assurance that you are not alone, that the Good Shepherd knows your name, counts your steps, and stands guard over your rest. And when morning comes, may you wake with the quiet certainty that the one who watched through the night goes with you into whatever the new day holds. For now, you can let go. You are seen. You are loved. You are safe in his care. Rest, quietly and fully, in the gentle presence of Jesus, who is with you always, even to the very end of the age.